I'm Rick Sillett. I'm from St. Agnes, Region 16. I'm retired. I do the Heights Journal.
Pete Ford, Mike Membership Chair, Region 9.
I'm Yasmin Oberlin, Secretary from Lakeview High School in Region 4.
Josh Burkhardt, Region 11, Treasurer, not currently teaching.
Dave Weeks, I don't remember what region, from Royal Oak, and I'm the webmaster.
I'm Rob Lindsay. I'm the Commercial Exhibits Chairman. I'm retired from District 2.
Dennis Herron, retired from Region 10, which is Lapeer and Genesee County. Currently working my way out of Constitutional Revision Chair, and thanks to Josh, the former Endowment Chair. And then just happy to be here.
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Chris Davis with MIAT College of Technology. We're a trade school in Canton. I handle partnership development for the school, so happy to be here.
Marvin Gage, Region 4, Branch Area Career Center. I teach engineering, machine tool, and architecture. And I'm on the Rules Committee.
So Mike Johnson, Montgomery Area Career Center, I'm CAD engineering instructor, Region 9.
And we also have Greg Mills, Chuck Lukey's our president, and Dave Patchett. I hope I got those names correct online as well. And Michelle Burkhardt.
Michelle Burkhardt here. That's all you need to know.
Next, we'll start with reports. So, start with the president report. Chuck, you there? Anything to report?
A whole lot of not much today. I've been kind of just distracted and, away from the thing this weekend. So I'll let you guys kind of take that, what happened this weekend, and report from there.
Okay, next would be Vice President, which would be myself. I don't have anything necessary to report that I don't think we're going to be discussing throughout this meeting. So again, I kind of learned everything as got here yesterday, and we'll be discussing as a group from here on out as well. All the things that I would have to report. So next would be Treasurer.
You have the gibber there. Dave is posting the treasury report online for those of you that are joining via Zoom, and those of you here have it. So treasury report as is in front of you. I apologize for the strike through on two of the headings in the middle of the page. The strike through is, I couldn't get rid of it before I printed it, so I just left it. So just ignore those. So basically at this point, as you can see, I do like to keep a balance in PayPal because we do have some reimbursements that come through every so often. So we have a balance in PayPal of $809.41. Fifth Third's interest-bearing savings is $62,213.26. And as a side note of that, that is where the $50,000 from the 2020 MDE grant is housed. And then Fifth Third checking, we have $9,210.03. And these are total available balances as of July 22nd of $72,232.70. The endowment fund increased to its first time ever above 18,000. So that's a woo, yay. So we're at $18,001.72 in the endowment. We had 2 donations into the endowment in, I believe it was May. And those are all listed there. PayPal income and expenses, checking account income and deductions. So along with that, we also have a good thing to note there at the bottom of your screen if you're on Zoom. And also at the bottom of the page, an allocated fund for the professional development. We need to go ahead and get some determinations on that. We'd allocated 20,000 from the 2020 grant. And then the 2021 grant that was just approved for the next fiscal year of the state of Michigan. The state signed into the public law $50,000 grant again for mites. So that will be coming probably in October once the state hits its next fiscal year and starts paying out based on the state law and their fiscal year. Other than that, just make sure that anything that you send me does go to the official treasurer at mites.cc for Mites business, as I do still receive some things from folks at the prior emails or my personal email. Other than that, that is my report, and I submit for its acceptance.
Support. Approve. Or second.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Go for it. The money from the state, do we have to spend that? I mean, because you said is part of that 62, part of that money, and when does that need to be spent?
We need to spend, we need to show the state we've spent the 50,000 from 2020 by the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th.
Okay.
So as of September, we have some checks we need to write. Get that done.
Okay, that's just a question I have.
I have one question.
Sure.
What are the guidelines on spending the money? I mean, what can we spend it on? Were they specific at all?
They were in the last one. I haven't read the next legislation. So the current legislation for 2021 required that the 50,000 they gave us be spent on teacher development, student development, industrial arts development, and support.
Good.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun to be able to hand that money out to folks and get that going in the next month or two.
You said there was approximately 20,000 left from the 50,000?
There's a 20,000 allocation that's left for professional development. We had set that aside as just to get some numbers on the board for the state back in November when we requested the money through the official channels to be paid out. They had requested that we had send them a guideline of what we intended to use the money for. And part of that we said as a board, we're going to set aside at least $20,000 for professional development that we haven't spent out yet in full. We did spend $3,000 just to get a feel for what it would be like to do a virtual conference, and that was the virtual conference we did in May. So that's where we're at right now with that. So of that official 20,000 left, there's 17,000. Other than that, we've used some of it for, and I don't have those numbers exactly of how much is left of the difference, but we haven't spent much of it. We've spent a little bit on some of the improvements to infrastructure on our website for user interface and whatnot along those lines. So we have some other things and proposals that we'll be bringing up here by the September meeting for payment for those purposes. Dave has some equipment improvements for improving our communications with members and so on. Any other questions?
I have one more.
Sure.
Regarding endowment, my end of annual meeting reports differ slightly from this, which is, I assume includes the donations that came in for the last conference.
Correct.
So I'd like to get with you.
Okay.
I'm at 18,290
Okay.
for the new donation. So
Okay.
I'll make sure you get a copy of this and you can tweak as you need.
It could be that that $200 difference slipped into the checking or savings when I deposited and I just forgot to transfer it over.
Cool.
So yeah, if you can help me balance that
Yep.
before we go forward, that'd be great.
Yep. You're at a vote to approve
Okay.
at this point.
Vote to approve?
All in favor, say
Aye.
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 All opposed? Secretary?
No report.
No report? No report from the chair.
Rick. This year's journal is gonna, or this coming issue of the journal, post-convention journal, is gonna be a little different with no convention, no student competition. But it will contain some photos. I've received about 200 photos from teachers and students of projects made in the last 2 years. What I hope to have is a registration membership form for this coming year, so teachers can get on it by the beginning of the school year, get their memberships paid and plan ahead, let their administration know. I'd also like basic conference information, where it's going to be, when it, date line, just general schedule. I'd like hotel information. I'm working on getting those items right now. I also plan to have all the contact information for RAOs and committee chairs, so members can see who's doing what, and if they have a question, they know who to contact. Question that was basically, I think we answered it yesterday at the exec board meeting, whether it would be a digital copy or a printed copy. And my recommendation was go digital for this issue, just simply for the lack of materials. And I think the exec board agreed with me on that issue. So assuming everyone here agrees, then we'll just have a printed or a digital issue for this coming issue. If there's anything else you'd personally like to see in the journal, please contact me. My email's at the bottom here. Send me an email and I'll see what we can do about doing that. If anybody would like to put anything in the journal, submit an article, I'm open to that. I'm hoping to get some content area made articles, maybe woodworking, metalworking, whatever. If you could help me out with that, I'd sure appreciate that. If you have anything, please get it to me ASAP. Submit my report.
Support. Second. Discussion?
I comment on it, I think that, virtual, I guess digital issue is a good idea.
Any other comments, discussion?
Rick, I mean, as always, if you need articles, let me know. I'll get you a couple.
I can always use good subject matter articles.
Okay.
Any others?
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, am I missing? Rob, do you have anything?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, commercial exhibits. We've gotten some new advertisers that are in the journal. We already had them back a few months ago. We put them in. We've got some people that have not responded, some companies, and we still have their advertisements on our webpage and in our journal. So I'm going to make another contact, see if they'll renew their advertisement. The other thing is, the people that are advertising, we need to support them. Buy our materials, equipment, and supplies from them. And I couldn't make that much clearer. Even Jeff Bilsarian said that for years. So we need to support these people. I mean, they're supporting Mike's, so we need to support them. And that's all I have to say today.
Move for acceptance.
Second.
Discussion?
Like this one right here.
Yeah, I guess this would be, I think this would probably work in that spot.
I don't know if
So
they
Rob,
paid somebody else.
I know that they always want an email list, right? Or a list of members.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. because my emails get flooded with stuff like Woodworkers Journal, and what do you think I do? Do you think I open every time? No, I did it, and I deleted it. I just kind of looked. So my thought was, it should personally, if it comes from mites, members are gonna open it. And we can send a mass. So what I'm thinking, because I got this from, he used to be, he was with the wood play, then he started his own company.
Oh, Walt Harvey,
Well,
yeah.
He wanted an email list of woodworkers in our mites. Well, first of all, I can't give you that list. There's no way we can get that. But my thought was, why, and I wanted to bring it up with the board too and everybody, why don't they send us a PDF or whatever, of what they want, of whatever they're what they want, and then we can just send it out to all membership. Instead of giving them, because now we're giving them emails, and that could make, who's to know. I get emails from people that I'm like, I never contacted these. That
And
way
that's a
it's coming
slippery
from
slope
us.
to go down.
Any information that any of our vendors or whoever is coming through us, and then we're sending it out. And we can put them on the email list too, so that they receive it. So that they can see that it's getting pushed out. But we won't give them a list of our members or a list of metal people, or what, but we will send it out ourselves.
Okay, did you tell him that?
No, I wanted to bring it up with everybody first. I've talked to, Rick and I actually talked about it once on the phone.
Okay.
But I just wanted everybody.
He made a huge donation, his company.
Always does.
$4,000
Now he's with
or
somebody
$5,000.
He's with somebody else, I remember what, I don't have my.
Well, he's with a new company. It's
Yeah.
Come see us this old
And he wanted,
Yeah.
I was like,
Come see
email
what's
him
over.
back and say, why don't you just give us what you want to advertise, and then we can just we'll push it out that way. Because some people are just gonna hit delete on it and feel like they're not gonna hit delete if it comes from us.
okay.
Because it's coming from Mike, it's coming from the mites.
Yeah, and the other thing is, once you get on an email list, you're on it forever. So,
Yeah.
I haven't taught in a number of years, but I have vendors from years and years and years ago that are still emailing my personal,
Yeah.
from years ago.
Yeah.
So that gets built up real quick, and it's real tedious trying to go in there and, tell it, I don't want to be on this list anymore every time one of those comes in. So if we could have kind of avoid that. And Pete and I talked about this, if we have one email that comes from mites every month, a monthly email, these are the advertisements from our vendors. People can look through all of those vendors as they want to, and it's all in one place. It's one email, it's condensed, concise. This is what we have, versus you get 20 different emails a month that you got to go through for that. So if they're really organized, they could literally store those emails, for however long, and look through them. And this is our vendor list. So if they had hey, who could I go to? They could go back to that one email and look through it and go, oh yeah, that's right, that was the one. Rather than trying to look through all of your emails or search for who was it that sent me this from that. So just a thought.
Well, Walt's been a huge supporter of mites. He's even donated the wood for the plaques over the years. And he might possibly do that again. And I just like take special care of him.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
he
that's
makes
why-
huge
Yeah, but-
donations.
I don't care how big a donation anybody makes, we're not going to be giving them our
Yeah,
membership.
No,
Yes,
that's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
We need to support him,
Right. But
buy
from this
materials
point,
from
whenever
him.
you talk to vendors, you need to say, hey, this is what we would do, and we'll do it. We can send it out. We could create a thing that goes every month, like vendors and their specials they're running or whatever. And it can get pushed out so that it's not coming from the vendor, it's coming from us.
It's going through us.
but the other thing is, we also need a wider variety. I mean, me as a CAD teacher, I can't go to certain sources because my district won't approve them. I don't think we have any vendors that I could use. I would love to support them, but we're mostly doing lumber. I think we've got two machining or two shop equipment people. I think we need to try and get a wider variety of them as well for the different types of programs we have.
Wow, my district let me buy from anybody I wanted.
Yeah, I can.
I mean, it was wide open. I just did what, yeah.
I think this puts us in an unusual position. I have no problem with Mike sending a newsletter with an advertisement in it or things like that. But to say, no, we won't give you our members' emails, we'll send it all out to you. If they have an ad effective June 1st and it runs till June 31st, and we don't send it out until the end of June, then are they gonna come back to us and say, hey, we lost business because of you? We didn't get that ad out. And, you know, to be honest, we haven't been good about getting communications out. Newsletters, when was the last newsletter we had? I just don't think it'll
But
continue
I don't
to
want
happen.
to give, then we need the members, but then members need to approve they want their email given out. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, I'll tell you,
Honestly.
somebody else will have to manage that because that's,
Well, if I start getting this email with advertisements, I'm gonna start deleting my stuff. We want that to happen.
But in the event that this vendor who'd like to share his information is also a member,
Right.
then yeah,
Right.
a fellow member is asking for the opportunity to advertise to the rest of us. Do they have access to, they don't. Do I have access to the full Mites membership email list? Just as who I am?
Nobody really. We don't, we have to, Dave and I, we have to. sit
no,
down
that's
and-
not entirely true.
Yeah.
He could go through the member directory and pull each one individually.
Good, yeah.
And you
Rob,
could-
am I correct that when you sign a contract with a company that part of the deal is they get a membership list?
Yes,
That's been
that is part of the
in
deal.
effect.
We've been doing that forever. It was addresses at one time, now it's email addresses.
All the
I've-
friends and sponsors of Mites.
Yeah.
Do people,
We
well,
just
wait a
say
minute,
you're
well,
supposed to get
But
is a
do
now
membership
it's getting,
list.
but I'm looking at it as a point of it's getting,
do people know that?
yeah.
That's
That's the
I,
thing.
I've been involved in Mites 10 years now. I had no idea on that, and I personally have a problem with that.
That's too bad, because when I was president, I sent out everybody's email addresses.
Well, if we're gonna do this, then we need to change all our contracts.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We
I
need to
think-
figure out how we want to do that.
I think this is a bigger issue.
Screwed up.
I think this is a bigger issue
should
that the
table
board needs to, like, this needs to be tabled so that the board can have a bigger discussion and set some new policies for this.
We always have said, if you're, when a vendor has wanted to do this in the past, we've always said, buy a membership.
Yes.
And as a member, I have the ability to communicate with the rest of the members. I don't know the procedure, but that's a fact. Is that not true?
Yes.
Well, when a
But-
company's
but-
giving you $5,000, why wouldn't they just be an automatic member?
They are.
They are.
They are.
Okay.
Every company. yeah,
So,
they
so
are.
how does that person communicate with the rest of us, whatever
Right.
it is they want? I mean, they're a member. How do they communicate? The easiest way is to go through you, correct?
Yeah, just, I guess just from a different perspective, through a different lens. I mean, we're always trying to support organizations and much like what you're describing right here, it's impossible for us to support and sponsor, with those types of opportunities, every organization that we're approached by. So we're in a position where we kind of have to have the same discussion about, all right, who are we willing to support and to what levels? And those are discussions that we have all the time at our school. We want to be able to support every organization that's, involved in trades or, but Mites is definitely for us high on the priority list to where I can see where you want to differentiate between the ones who are really vested into Mites versus perhaps like a vendor who just wants access to the membership list. And that's where, I'm here to kind of get clarity around that and to see how we can kind of be more robust in our involvement with the organization. Because again, we're approached all the time, and it's unfortunate that I have to say no as often as what I do to organizations, but the ones that we do and have involvement with, we want them to be something where, they can actually do something with, like you were mentioning with the level of sponsorship is something that the organization can take and they see it and there's an impact that it has. And because those little ones, you know, it helps you with that overall kind of perception piece, but the impact that it has on kids in the classroom and that type of thing, or teachers and resources that they need, you just don't see it. So we want to keep that impact high. But I think what I've noticed with organizations is they're kind of defining those levels and what allows them access to it, because you'll find out really quickly which vendors really truly want to be involved with the organization and which ones are kind of on that kind of periphery that, you know, everybody wants the business of an organization and that, but who's like really involved with them for the long haul. Maybe that could be the deciding factor about who gains access to that membership. Because I understand, I mean, that's once a teacher's email starts getting, you know, just filled with all this stuff that doesn't even necessarily apply directly to what they're trying to do, you know, you get in that habit of wanting to clear that thing out. So yeah, that would be interesting to see if the board could make a determination about that, because my colleague Larry Gall has been involved with MITES for some time now, and it's kind of been like that go-to in terms of communication. That's why I want to be more involved here to get clarity around, you know, what is it that we're able to do and how can we ramp that up. And so that's just from the outside of the K-12 space and more from post-secondary wanting to support the organization. So take that as you want, see how that goes. So thank you for that.
I mean, we could add into the description, anybody that donates a certain amount will get the email list. That cuts out the small people who are just in there just to do advertising. No, we could do that. I mean, they should get some rights to that, I think.
Can I give a business perspective? So I work with a lot of businesses, and let me tell you, everybody wants the email list, okay? I can go one day away from my email and I will come back and have 150 emails. I'm not reading any of them. I don't care who you are, okay? But when a business says, you know what, I have a free thing for you, that's gonna be really valuable for you. Here's this free thing. I have added value to you. You're more likely to take that free thing, and you're also more likely to sign up for the email list. Like, oh, if you're gonna offer something to me, then I will do this, right? Now you get to decide if you want to subscribe or unsubscribe or whatever at any point, that's on you. But one thing that you guys could do is you could offer a monthly, you know, here's the vendors that have a free gift for you. Check it out. If you want to, great. If you don't, that's fine. We're gonna offer that to you, and you guys get to decide who gets to get on that list. That's you opening the door saying, if you want it, it's here, but not signing everybody up. Because I agree, if you don't know and you haven't checked that box to consciously have that email sent to you, it could damage your organization. But if you say, hey, did you guys know so-and-so? Well, they have something for you. Now you're just matchmaking, and whoever makes the match, great. Whoever doesn't, that's fine. An idea.
I think as long as members have the option to opt out of being put on that list.
Better psychologically, you want them to opt into. Wouldn't you say this? Chris, was it? Chris?
Yes.
Wouldn't you want people to opt into what you're doing as opposed to being put on a list and then have to opt out?
Oh yeah, just from a branding overall perception piece of how that information is being distributed. Yeah, I don't want MIT College of Technology associated with any kind of mass mailing. We're more about a grassroots effort and where we can have impact, and that's how we know we're gonna.
Psychologically, if you opt into something, now you're gonna work with Chris, and that's what Chris wants. Chris doesn't want, you know, hundreds of people put on his list and then 100 people going off, because that messes with his numbers too, right? So it's that win-win-win for everybody.
I guess I kind of agree with Rick too, as far as our communication, we need to work on that. Because Dave, I sent you the email and I was told, hey, get some quotes for laser cutters. The only one we have on our vendor list is Universal, the Midwest Laser. So I started with that one, but then I've got to go out and search for everything. You're the only one that gave me a comment back that you even have one. And I know there's more people in our organization that has to have those things capable to them. But it's summertime too. So in the summer, it's like how often do any of our members even check for email? So that's going to be the hard part. So I understand where Rick's coming from too. That communication isn't always where we want it to be sometimes.
You know what, maybe we can look at creating a list that people opt into for vendors
Yeah, we can, yeah.
that can then be, we give them access to the list and it can be changing. So if people want to opt out at any point, they could as well.
Yeah, they would have to contact, because I could opt them, yeah.
No, they can do it
Yeah,
automatically
they
through the
can do it
website.
automatically.
So maybe that's what we can do, Rob, is
Okay.
get them a list where we don't just give them the list. They have something they can copy and paste from that's a dynamic list. We can
Work that out.
I can bring a pen. Thank you.
Yeah, that's, I think, at our exec board meeting, they have one in August, and
Let's table that to the next, we need to do a special one for you
Yeah.
too, to get that going
Yeah,
for this
just,
next year.
get it going.
Table that discussion.
You know, another thing, I need everybody's help getting some, when I was teaching, the only people I dealt with was the woodworkers. I need people to go out there and help me get the metalworking people, the drafting and CAD. So I never dealt with that. I didn't have any reps I dealt with, for commercial exhibits when I was a teacher. I was just woodworking. So I would appreciate your help if you got some of the people you're doing business with and called them and asked them if they'd like to put an advertisement in the journal and on the webpage. Because it's something I can't do by myself, because I don't know those people. Like when I go to a show like AWFS, it's all woodworking. So I'm totally out of the metals area, out of the plastics, out of electronics. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Being around as long as you have, you know several people within the organization that you would say know several people within the field. You could delegate to them, make, go to a handful of people like a metals people or this, and homeless a little panel together that would help you.
That would work.
Because
Good idea.
Yeah, you've been around, the individuals that have big influence in regards to metals or different areas, right? So then contact 2 or 3 of those people and then have them help you, or at least give you a list of contacts, hey, and they might be asked to help you do that.
I have a guy, Rob, who used to be the big guy that pushed production tool, and when he left production, that's when they kind of left.
Didn't Production Tool go out of business?
No.
Okay.
But then he went to Braun Machinery, but then he left there, and now he's got his own little thing going. So I'll talk with him. I didn't even know he was still around. Greg Giordano. Anybody here probably doesn't like.
It's a familiar name.
Greg Rabbit. But I'll talk with him to see if he wants to.
Okay.
Do something. 'Cause I think he wants, he reached out to me because he had some sand shells that he gave me.
Oh, great.
Here's something for you, Rob. Contact Jenny Willis at Production Tools and at CME Tools in Detroit. You want to take a screenshot? That's from Chuck. Hey, Chuck, do you have a contact number for her?
Was that picking it up?
Yep. Okay.
The other,
Thanks, Chuck.
the other thing you could look at, Rob, is our rules booklet with the listing of the people under the metals areas to think of. You each get one.
Well,
All of a sudden, you got 4 or 5.
What about the REOs?
Absolutely.
Um,
Good idea.
One thing I would like to sit down sometime in the next month and talk to you about, Rob, is getting a list of the advertiser pricing for.
Did I send that to you?
No.
I thought you did.
And then also how we can formatting stuff for the website, so I can get that in the format where I don't have to, it's easier for me to plug in. And then any forms that you send the advertisers, so that if people see us online, they can just pull the form right there and send it off to you for advertising.
That'd be great.
That's the initial contact, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
You have to make 70 phone calls. But at that point, job is
So we'll,
Rob's report.
Oh. So we need to vote on Rob's report?
Yep.
Sure. All
So-
in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? As the endowment fund report, or, well,
Josh took over the endowment
Okay.
fund following the last convention, so
Okay.
really his
Yeah. I'm gonna,
treasurer's report pretty much summed things
so,
up. 2 new donations since then, and we're over 18,000 for the first time in history.
so I'm just gonna begin including that report in my treasury report because that just
Yeah.
consolidates
Unless
things.
there's something different, why bother? It makes sense.
We usually don't do this at some meeting.
okay. Is there any other reports? Am I missing any?
Just ones for people who aren't here.
I do have one for the webmaster.
Okay, awesome.
I'm going to be officially, I've created positions for content team. We're looking for 3 to 5 members for content writing, 1 for video editing, 1 for graphics. And I'm going to send that, like the descriptions to the board tonight so that we can hopefully meet sometime in the next couple of weeks to officially get them into the Blue Book. But if the board's okay, I'm gonna send those out to membership this week and start trying to generate people to help build content for both the website and for the journal. Yeah, and the other thing I'll wait till the September meeting for, which would be the purchase of some equipment. But Josh, is there a limit where I have to go to do for board approval? Is it $1,000?
You have a budget already set from the last one of 5,000.
Okay.
So we just get together and figure out where you're at on your budget.
Okay.
And,
Well, then I'll do it that way then.
okay.
Because it's a bunch of small stuff.
Okay.
With regard to the website, I contacted you earlier this summer about the forum being hijacked.
Yes, that was cleaned up.
Is it, because I looked at it, I can't tell you the date, but since I talked to you, I've looked at it again, and it was back that way.
I cleaned it up a month ago.
Yeah, okay, it's probably been previous to that, it's the last.
Okay,
time.
yeah, because somebody came in and flooded it with a whole mess of spam, so I cleaned that up. And somehow it happened again.
Yeah.
So what I've done since then, I don't know that the forum is active right now. I think I took it off while I was getting it cleaned up, and I don't know that I've got it back to a point where it's up and running again. If not, if it is, it's open. If not, I'm still researching it. I took a month off from working on that project.
Well,
so.
I guess we'll forgive you. That's it, a month. At some point in the future, during our meeting, I'd like to go through the website live and be instructed on how to get to, I'm pretty swift, but not that swift. So I need a little, here's the method you use to look at these sort of things and how you reply and stuff like that.
Sure.
And because of the roadblocks, I kind of tend to not bother looking anymore.
Well, you know what? We could have like we were doing those roundtable meetings. We can do one of those. Like, I hate to call.
That'd be a good one for everybody.
Well, I was gonna say,
Here's
we
the
could do-
sales pitch for using the website.
We could do a tech support session.
Yeah.
It could be other stuff than the
Yeah.
website as well.
And we need to podcast that, right, or whatever. the
Yep,
term is.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That was for you.
The video podcast.
There we go. Yeah, nothing like more work. Thanks a lot.
Is that a
Other
report?
discussion?
That is my report, yes.
That is the report.
I'll move to second or approval. Anybody
And
second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Going wrong. Aye.
Sorry, I didn't say loud. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
So then we would move on to old business if there's no other reports.
No other reports, old business?
before we get into old business, I just want to mention that I do have a list here for members and board to name, mailing address, region, and total mileage for today, because I will be mailing out your checks for mileage. I'll be passing this around. So if it's no mileage, just put your name and your region down and just put 0 for mileage.
Should we do the,
I don't know where there's stuff on here. I don't know when I actually created those. But like there's stuff on like this.
let's do Michelle's under old business since we've already talked about it like 3 times. Rick, should we do Michelle under old business because that's been talked about with the board like 3 times now?
Sure.
The first off,
So,
Michelle, would you like to do your part? Okay.
old business, we have a Michelle book that
Work hard,
B, Burkhart.
work hard, work hard, work hard, yes. No T, no T.
Yeah, we're not a Model T.
We're not a
Model
Model
D.
T, we're work hard, work hard.
Yeah, we're Model
No T.
Ds now.
Yeah.
Model Ds. Yeah.
All right, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle Burkhart. Yes, I am Josh's wife, but I'm more than that. I actually have been in education for a day or two. Let's just keep it at that because the number just kind of freaked out in my head a little bit. But about 10 years ago, I started my own business. I'm a speaker and a trainer and a coach, mainly in the leadership space. And COVID came and really kind of shifted things for me. I was 100% in person. And pretty soon, within the first 3 weeks, I had 90 live events get canceled. So I was doing the math in my head, all those speakers' fees, and I was like, how are we going to pay the bills? And so I learned a lot about switching everything over to online. Since then, I have hosted 13 virtual conferences. I have 36 classes and courses running right now, several different mastermind groups. And I love it. I absolutely love it because I can do a lot from my home in my office chair with no shoes on. So I think I'm eventually going to write a book that says how to build a business without a pair of shoes, because you can do that now, right? We can do all kinds of stuff through online means. So, gosh, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I was asked to come and talk about how I might be able to help mites. And I actually presented what I'm going to share with you then, but it was not accepted. I think you guys were just in a different space at that time. And one of the things that was chosen was to do the online virtual conference. How many of you attended sessions for the conference? Yes, I know Chris presented a video for it, which was cool. When I heard your name, I was like, I know him. I watched his video. So we did the virtual conference. We had a lot of really great feedback. Lots of things came out of that that I think is, we talked about that yesterday when we were in the meeting. So I've actually done sort of this presentation probably 3 times already, but I'm going to bring it back once again, share it with the group, and see what questions you might have. So, thinking about how we could kind of take mites to the next level, if you will, and also saying this, that I've been around mites for the last 20 years, so I've got to see all the progressions. So what I'm proposing is that in the next year, what I can do for you, first of all, the in-person conference is not going away. We are having the convention. That is not going away. What I'm proposing for you today is that we will build everything around that, that's going to be your foundational thing, okay? So in this plan, you would get a strategic plan, which would cover a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, and a 5-year plan. It would give you all of these things, including the timelines, the procedures, the processes. Basically, we would create for you what we lovingly call a monkey plan, meaning any trained monkey can do it. So the plan would include everything that you need to make these things happen so that anybody in your group can do it. And it's already created. You'll know the timelines, you'll know the procedures. There won't be anything that anybody has to plan. It will literally be, okay, who's gonna send that email today? Also, I'm gonna create policies, procedures, timelines for if you want to work with a virtual assistant to actually do all of that work for you. So instead of making extra work for somebody, because let's face it, you guys have enough work to do, what we will do is we'll create that plan so that a virtual assistant can do all of it, because really anybody can do it. So we would include a week-long virtual conference, and we would also have sketches for that because we need those continuing education hours. And then we'll have a mixture like we did this last time of MITE speakers, vendors, people in the industry sharing their knowledge and experience. Ideally, I would also like people who've been in MITES like Rick and Dennis to kind of share more of the historical perspective, if you will, at the conference. I think that that would really add a lot to the conference. And then we'll also have some other people from around the world that might talk about educational issues that are outside of MITES. So that would be a week-long virtual conference, just like we did this last time. We're also proposing monthly meetups where we would come together, we would have announcements, we would ask for member input, we would also have topics of discussion that are very relevant to people who are within MITES as members. We actually yesterday came up with a whole bunch of topics, which we're more than happy to add on to. And then one of the things that I'm really, really excited about is hosting a virtual student leadership conference. I know that that is like a really big box that a lot of MITES teachers needs to check. Student leadership is really a passion of mine, and we can do it just like we did in the virtual conference. One of the things that you get when you work with me is my network, and I am a John Maxwell team member, which means I have connections with 60,000 people who are in the leadership space all around the world, and about 600 of them are just focusing on middle school and high school. So I can actually build out a full length, let's say 20 speaker session by January. It can be completely virtual. We talked about different ideas of how you might use it. One of the ideas that we had was you can either host it as a set aside event, or you can host it as a teacher sub-plan. So instead of going to school when you're sick and trying to come up with a plan for your sub, you say, here's the link for this video, show this video today. You have a high quality video that's talking about student leadership. And then also you could work with your local school district and possibly use that as a moneymaker. So there's some options with that. There would be some infrastructure cost to get us started, but we could figure out how to do that as far as, play around with it. If it works, keep it. If it doesn't, you can get rid of it. There's some really cool options with that. So ultimately, what you would get with this is the plan is really the biggest thing, because once you have the plan set in place, it's rather easy for you guys to make this happen. Now, one of the concerns that has been brought up is, we have enough work to do. You guys have a lot of work to do, not just in your regular jobs, but volunteering for MITES. So I really want to create a plan that's easy, that you can use partners such as a virtual assistant to help you do the plan. I actually talked with my virtual assistant last night and I said, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. As the meeting was going on yesterday, I was just brainstorming what might this plan look like, what would be involved. And I asked her, do we have the bandwidth for this? And she said, yes, we can do that. We can do that pretty easily. So at the end of the 1 year, you would have the plan, and I'm not going anywhere, right? I'm married to Josh, not going anywhere. So I can come back, I can help you talk through some things, I can help you walk through it. The one-time investment of this, I look at it as it's like building a house, right? Really what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to build your virtual house so that you're not just an in-person convention, but you're a virtual house. That one-time investment is going to be $20,000 to get it up and running. Then every year beyond that, depending on your needs for infrastructure and maintenance, could be somewhere between $2,000 and $6,000. So you wouldn't pay the $20,000 every year. You would pay the $2,000 to $6,000 to keep it up. So this isn't a pay Michelle so the full cost actually with all of this, the infrastructure, the leadership conference, all of that is actually $30,000 completely. But that's a one-time cost. So the $20,000 is one time, and then $2,000 to $10,000, depending on what you want to do in the future, is totally up to you. Okay. And as Josh referenced in his talk earlier, you guys have the money for PD. So this is something that we can get you set up. And again, it's not just, we're not just paying for a week-long thing and a student leadership conference with that money. You're paying for the plan to make it all work in the future. So this is really the basis and the foundation of your future. Okay. So I guess I'll open it up for questions. Yeah.
Can you kind of go over what our thinking was regarding how to get a return on that cash investment?
Yes, absolutely. So the return comes in the pricing options for things. I'll give you one example. So we were talking about the Student Leadership Conference. One thing that we thought of was MITES members would get that conference for free. So it comes to you, you get to decide how do you want to use it. You can use it all in one, you can use it throughout the year. And then you can take that, and let's say you go to your local school district and say, hey, I've got this really cool leadership conference, and I think it's worth it for all of our students. And they could pay rights for it. Let's say, I'm just throwing out a number. Let's say $500, and you can show it to all of your students, okay? I work with a lot of educators, especially administrators, and I can tell you this, that to pay $500 for something that you can use for all of your students, yes, that's an easy yes, right? And then somebody, might have been Rick, suggested, well, if we charge the administration $500 and the teacher, the MITES teacher is going out to kind of sell this to the school district, can they get a kickback on it? I love that idea. It's an affiliate marketing idea. Yeah, so what if you gave it to the school district for $500, but the MITES teacher that sold it got $250? So you guys are getting $250 back automatically, but it's no more work on your part because it's already created. The MITES teacher is going to sell it and going to get more impact in their community. All the students in your community are going to get this training, but the MITES teacher is also going to make money on it. That's one idea that we could use. Does that help?
Well, sort of, but I was really talking about the cost structure we brainstormed yesterday.
Yes.
I see, the teacher selling the program to the school as a really limited return. I can only see a handful of people that would even attempt it. I could be way off, but I just don't believe that's going to be a big return.
Yeah, so that handful of people every year that would do that would actually pay for all the costs that you would need. So the whole leadership conference would pay for itself if you just had a handful of people who did that. But what Dennis is referring to is the pricing structure that we talked about yesterday. MITES has been at $100 membership for a really long time. And so we talked about different ways that we might be able to structure this by having the student leadership conference, the monthly meetups, and a virtual conference, in addition to your in-person conference that you're having. You could charge a little bit more for the membership. So you get more value, but MITES is making more money in the long run. Anybody have any questions on that pricing chart there? Yeah.
Initially you said as a member you have access to the virtual conference.
Yes.
But really you have to be at the membership top level to be part of the virtual conference. I can go to the in-person convention and get a membership, but I can't go to the virtual conference.
Because you're retired.
No, just
No.
assume I'm an active teacher.
Oh,
That's the way I read it. In order to get the virtual conference and or the leadership portion, I have to be at that higher level.
right. So you pay $175 and you
Instead
get
of
everything.
125. Okay.
Correct.
So that's the minimum membership level I need to get the whole package.
Correct.
Gotcha.
$175 for the year gets you everything.
We're currently at 100, but we don't offer the virtual, the student leadership, the monthly meetups.
Right.
We're embellishing the value of the membership with this
Exactly.
program.
Exactly.
And a portion of this, we talked yesterday about the fact that we had about 80 or so people participate in this year's virtual conference. With the assumption it's going to grow, maybe it'll be 100. So if it was 100, you know, we're going to get back a large portion of our investment.
Correct.
A portion of which has to pay for the annual conference in person, and a portion which would, you know, so I guess at some point I'd like to do the math and break down here the potential estimated return on our investment.
Absolutely. I would like to do that too.
Every time I see one-time cost, I get, oh, geez. But if I refer to it as an investment
Correct.
with a plan to return that money, I'm feeling better.
Yes. That's why pricing, procedures, all of that kind of stuff would come up in here in our plan. And we would be able to really flesh that out. Like that was a starting point yesterday. But there's so much more that we can do. And there's so much more that we can do with this model where we can work with industrial arts teachers outside of Mines, outside of the state of Michigan. You know, you go somewhere, you meet somebody and they're in your space, or you talk to a vendor that's not in Michigan, and you're like, we have a house for you to come visit. We have a family that you can be a part of. But currently, it's come to our board meeting or come to our in-person conference. This provides more ways for people to plug into what you're doing. And I think combined with Dave's big ideas, which I absolutely love, about content creation, content curating, it houses all of that in one place that you can actually work smarter, not harder. So even just yesterday in the small ideas that we had, I was like, oh my gosh, we've got content for like 3 years, which is amazing. Yeah.
And then too, yesterday, we actually talked about running the virtual conference twice in the same year.
The same virtual
The same virtual conference. We had talked about running it like in August, maybe before school starts, just to give you a refresher. And then that same conference again would run in, we said January, but we could always pick for a different time.
So that way, if you're, like Pete said, if you're a teacher that, you know, you have to attend all of the August starting up stuff, you know, all of the ones that are just so fun that you look forward to every year, right? That you'd rather poke your eye out rather than be there. If that's a requirement for you, you probably wouldn't attend that online conference in August, but maybe you would want to attend it in January when you have a little bit more time. So some flexibility there.
And then too, she mentioned about the student leadership. Yeah, it would be a week, but like we had talked yesterday, opening it right at the beginning of the school. So you could run it whenever you wanted, or like a lot of us looked at it as a good sub thing, like she had mentioned.
So a lot of the speakers that I would be looking at are also teaching now or are former teachers, and they're in that leadership space. And they're working with an approved curriculum that's actually been proven all around the world for students in middle school and high school. And it comes with activities, it comes with sub-plans, it comes with reflection sheets. And so pretty much what you would get is all of these videos that you could download with all of those handouts. You could plop them into a folder, boom, there's your sub-plan. Huge value add, in my opinion. Yeah.
Because sketches on top of it.
Right, sketches.
You know, I know you discussed yesterday for everybody that obviously all teachers are required to have 150 of those. Well, how are you getting them? Yes. A lot of these things that we can do in the virtual conference would apply to those.
Absolutely.
We are adding content, and, specific areas to these videos and other things, and you can access it all year long.
Yes.
How awesome would it be for an educator not to have to sit there and, oh shoot, I gotta hurry up and do this, but to have a backlog of the opportunity to get sketches throughout the year, but then also be able to go back and have the content related sketches would be.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a key factor, because there's been a lot of opportunities. I could have watched conferences and it's like, well, it's not being offered as sketchy, so it's.
Yeah, why do it? Yeah.
You know, it's not gonna count towards my renewal or whatever, so it's like, I mean, unless it's outstanding, I'm not gonna watch it.
Exactly. And we can write sketches for the monthly meetups. We can write sketches for the virtual conferences. I mean, we can get really creative and write sketches for a lot of things. You know, the one comment that Yasmin actually made yesterday really stuck with me all last night. She was talking about, she had to go to a conference and she was gonna get sketches, but had to leave for some reason, had something come up. And so she attended 3/4 of the day, but she didn't get any sketches. I mean, think about that. You just attended 3/4 of something and you got nothing for it. You don't have that with this model because it's on demand. It's your time. If life shows up, and let's face it, life shows up, it's okay. You just push pause and you come back when you can, as long as it's within the time frame of, you know, that 7 to 10 day window, and you get your homework returned, you get sketches. Personally, I've worked with a lot of education institutions, and some of them are still in this, we have to meet in person for some reason. And there's value to that. And we can actually work on some of these things where we have like a live Q&A portion. That's always an option. But I'll be honest with you that sometimes when you have to be there, or you have to be on a Zoom at a certain time and sit through that, anybody ever feel like you've been held hostage? I know I have, you know? I mean, come on. Or you're sitting through it and you're just like, oh my gosh, I wish they would talk faster, right? Well, guess what? On a video, you can push 1.5 times faster. You can still get the same amount of content, right? I know, exactly.
I didn't know there was one.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. So I think this, the foundation, the structure of what I'm sharing with you here, I can't put everything on one piece of paper to share with you, but really it's talking about a philosophical change coming to Mites and saying, let's build on what we've always done, still keep some of those very key foundational items, but let's also go into the future and provide more opportunities for people to plug in. One of the things that came up yesterday over and over and over again, 2 words, content and connection. We have to have really good content. We have to have really good connection. People can go onto YouTube and get a video all that they want on how to do whatever, right? But that's not going to provide them connection with that person. You can't sit down and have a conversation with that person and say, all right, but how did you apply that in the classroom situation, right? We need more opportunities where we have both content and connection.
And that was brought up yesterday with Rick, well, I can do it on YouTube, but then I said, yeah. And I could watch Onshape videos on YouTube, but Yasmin sent me some things that she made during this whole COVID thing. And I could relate with you. I could say, hey, what, you know, if I were in a spot that I got confused, or I think the kids, how did you get through this? That's where it's over, it would be over top of the YouTube.
I looked at it from another advantage too, and we did a conference. It's like, one thing I always struggled with when we went to our face-to-face conferences, all right, we got our 3 days, here's all the events, picking and choosing which ones do I really want to go to so I can get them in, and I'd really like to hit a couple other ones. This gives you the opportunity, you can hit every single one,
Exactly.
and not miss a thing. So I like it.
And the way that we set up this last one too, we had way more videos than what we needed to have the amount for sketches, which allowed people to have choice. And they could start watching a video and say, yeah, that's not really hitting me. We'll go to the next one. You know, and I love that opportunity because I've sat in a lot of teacher trainings before where I was like, so glad I'm checking a box and I'm glad that they brought chocolate today, but that's it. Like I don't have anything else out of this presentation. So I think this model really honors, values, and respects you guys as professionals that you are.
And two, it reaches out, I don't know, because I know I'm on it, I know Yasmin is that Facebook page of the industrial art teachers, that the guy from Wayland started. There's people on there that are out of state. This would reach those people that would become Mites members, or at least just pay for the conference, you know, because obviously they're not going to come to the student competition, but there might be something for them that we could reach a broader group of people.
And really part of this that I'm offering is this planning phase is really looking at what are the other opportunities that we have to serve our members now? What are the opportunities that we have to use this model to recruit new members and retain new members? So Rick was bringing up yesterday, he was trying to recruit, I think it was like 3 teachers or something like that, having these conversations and they're like, yeah, what's in it for me? He didn't have anything really to share with them, right? The standard things that everybody tries, and they're like, that's not enough. That's not good enough. Because you're looking for content and connection. And if you build it, they will come. right? You'll have something to say, listen, here's our buffet. Okay, all of you are looking at this. Some of you are like, oh yeah, I'll do everything. And some of you are like, well, I might do this, but I wouldn't do that, right? It's a buffet of options. You get to choose. We're not requiring you to do anything, but as a member, you pay $175, you get access to everything, and you get to decide what you want to do with it. Any other thoughts or questions?
Just
Yeah.
Retiree cost for that whole program.
Yep.
What do I have to pay to get into the whole program?
I think we decided yesterday you're keeping it the same.
So the same as life members, no charge.
Yep.
General retired,
Yep.
$15, and that gives me access to the whole
The
program.
whole kit and caboodle.
And we certainly hope that I come and help judge and work.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Still.
absolutely.
So, otherwise I don't really see a big draw for retirees.
Yeah. Well, and really,
And that makes great sense to me. I mean,
Yeah.
Not just because I don't know.
Yeah. And really, we would like you to come into some of these doors and check it out and give us your perspective.
Plus, who knows what, maybe I'll produce a video.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 we will help you. Yes,
Yeah,
we
we-
want you to produce videos.
Hey, as long as I can have my giant video camera, I'm cool.
We can make that work.
And we can make that
I really
work.
wish I had all those old tapes. I think they're still valid.
There's a lot of those in the scrapyard.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to find one so you can play it.
Yeah.
So I didn't put so if you choose to do all of this, the one-time cost is really that 20,000. We do have some infrastructure stuff we need to invest in for this first year to kind of get us going, make sure that it's working for us. So the total cost for all of this for right now is 30,000. You will not be paying that ever again, okay? 30,000 for your house, and then beyond that, you get to decide how you want to kind of maintain that. If you're like my girlfriend and likes new carpet every 3 years, well, that's going to cost you. I'm good with no carpet, right?
So why can't you split up the 20,000 over 5 years?
Because I have costs that I have to make this happen. Like you could split up the 20,000 over 5 years to build your house. It's just going to take you 5 years to build your house.
Okay.
When do you want to live in it?
You can be Joe Churches.
Yeah.
I'm Joe.
So one of the things that we talked about yesterday was Mites has been around 93.
He's living a trailer.
Mites has been around 93 years. All right, let's just conservatively say that at every convention you've had 10 speakers do some PD, or throughout the year you've had 10 PD opportunities. So let's say they're each an hour. That's 930 hours of content nobody in this organization can connect with ever again.
They're one.
They're gone. Think about the people who are no longer in the organization that you guys have all kind of come up with that are gone. We don't have their knowledge, their wisdom anymore. This allows us to capture that stuff now. If you build a house now, rather than in 5 years, you have 5 years of content so that in 5 years, you're working less, but you're able to produce more. That's my argument for starting now. And I know Dave is kind of on board with me, like, yes, let's do this.
Well, Chuck just made the comment. He thinks this is a great plan. Biggest reservation is 20,000 is a lot of money, plus recurring costs of 2,000 to 5,000 is a big recurring cost. Can we financially sustain all of this? And I'll defer to Josh on that.
Yeah, so the 20,000 is the one-time cost. We already have, as a board, set aside that money at a previous meeting. So that was to go towards some sort of PD development like what we're doing here. That's what we envisioned for going forward into the future. The $2,000 to $5,000 recurring cost, we spend that kind of money every year on things we don't get a return on. So there's ways to make that $2,000 to $5,000 recurring cost back up just in what we are talking about here based on the return on our investment. So it's $2,000 to $5,000 looks like a lot of money, but when we're talking about, we could bring that in just in selling the virtual student competition to school districts around the nation even.
You actually just make that up with the new price of your membership.
Or with new price of your membership.
Fold right in.
You know, there's a funding model built into it.
Assuming they all show up.
Yep, there's a funding model built into it.
They wouldn't have to show up, they're
Wow.
just.
Anybody that's invested in that doesn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, but you still get their money.
Yeah, but I'm.
Yeah, I
worried
get what
about
you're
it a
saying,
little bit.
yeah, I get it, yeah.
The other thing is, I'm sorry, the thing is, it's not 20, it's 30. Initial
Right.
investment
Right.
is 30,000.
Right.
That's a, oh, by the way, here's your bill, and there's an extra 10. We didn't really.
Well, we also never talked about a student leadership conference either, so that was an added bonus in to make it up to that 30,000. That wasn't on a previous plan that I ever, because that was my inspiration in the shower.
So.
And you're gonna make all this happen
Yes.
on your own, without us.
The only thing, yeah, great question. The only thing I need from you guys is recruiting mics and content speakers for the virtual conference, which is what we did before. So we're gonna need vendors to do, so Chris did a video for us. We want that again. Any of the teachers that can do content, we want that again, which I have a system, I have templates.
So right there, we're doing the same amount of work as we did before. Because when I was president,
Yeah.
I recruited all the speakers
Yes. Yes,
and the vendors. I helped with the vendors.
exactly,
So I was doing all of it.
yes.
Well, we want to take a lot of that away from our president. 'Cause he doesn't have as
Yes.
much to do. So how's that gonna happen if we got to recruit the speakers?
But it's not just the
It's-
president doing it, it's
Right.
It
the
would
entire
be-
board.
Everybody doing it.
That's the plan. That's
Hopefully it
where
didn't work out that way when I was president.
because we didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't lean hard enough on president.
That's true.
And-
I really didn't.
Yeah,
No, that's
and
true.
I'll be
I was
honest
just
with you that
doing-
what I'm offering right now is when the plan comes up, that everybody on the board knows the plan and they know exactly what the timeline is and who's supposed to be doing what. So the only thing I need from you is to recruit speakers one time a year, and they can be the same speakers that you had at the in-person conference. They can, and all kinds of different things. Dennis, guess what? Would you like to be a speaker at our next virtual conference? He will. I'll work on it.
That's what we talked about.
Will you?
No.
Okay, we'll work on it. Between Dave and I, we can make that happen.
You want me to remember for the next 90 years?
No.
That's a great
That's
thing.
it.
Yeah, that's it.
That was pretty
That's it,
unforgettable, you guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Pete has some excellent ideas too for things where we could actually just go out and videotape some of you doing projects and things like that. That would be of great value. That part I'm not worried about. And that's it. That's it. I can make everything else happen.
Michelle, I'd say, what we discussed also yesterday in the whole price line is we started right at the top where our current fee was $100. If we just increase that $25 as bare minimum, that's what you get for the in-person. You still have to pay $2 a project, but if somebody didn't want to do necessarily all this, their price has still actually increased $25.
It's still way
And
cheaper.
the membership, that $25 jump alone right there is going to jump up and pretty much cover probably the initial startup of this and our return investment.
Yearly cost.
Let alone, we jump another $50 from those that are interested in getting basically the whole package. Now we're looking at $75 an additional per member. So the cost potentially could be obviously a lot higher than what we expect it to be. The only other concern I have is, would this ever deter? I know these are all beneficial things, but as a member that is not here, they don't necessarily are getting this information and seeing what we are seeing. They don't see the breakdown, they don't understand it all, and all they're looking at is, boom, it went from $100 to $175. What the heck? Like, it was already a lot to get the $100 first from the school or wherever else, but for us, it's an easy, no brainer, but would it, and again, I can't
Well, I
say
think
you're
that's
looking
what-
at
And then the other thing you've got You've got a lot of teachers that show up to this conference that are paying for it for themselves.
Exactly.
They got to pay it out of their own pocket. Their
Exactly.
school's not paying because
Exactly.
their school's so freaking cheap.
I know.
Well, that's where the 125 comes in. So really, those folks are only paying an extra $25. And when we think about, let's go back to the models we've had in the past. We've paid a lot more than 125 for a membership in a convention in the past. We went back to $100 many years ago.
When we switched it, when we got rid of the conference payment and the membership payment, that's when we went to
Yeah.
$100.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah, so it's been 10
You
years.
were paying $160.
It was 160 before.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? We could take part of those scholarship funds we have and set it up where if a member can show that their admin rejected that 125 or the 175, we set them up with a scholarship
Exactly.
and say,
Great
you know
idea.
what? Fine, you get the scholarship, you gotta write an article or two for us.
So
Or produce a video.
Yep.
to
Or
put on.
produce a video, yeah, you know,
Creates content.
I hate to put that
But it's a
caveat on it, but
Yeah.
we're giving you something, give back to us.
We sort of did that this time, correct? We offered an opportunity for scholarship if you could participate in a virtual conference. Did anybody take advantage of it?
I didn't receive any notification of it, but that doesn't mean that in the future, I don't, you know,
I understand.
I'm looking at, if we had
First
85,
time through, but it's there as an option.
yeah, 85 people registering out of a typical participation of, you know, 200 and some register, 100 and some participate. That's possibly over, if you look at that, that's over 50% just in our initial go forward in the world of, you know, COVID going on and all of that. We run back to a normal yearly schedule of school. People are back in the classrooms and operating. I see the numbers going up because we're going back to some normalcy. We're looking for something more. We're wanting additional value.
You know, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, we're 85, so let's just predict that 100 show up. So
Right.
what's the, additional funding? How much does that pay for this?
100 times 75?
What do you want?
I'm just saying that, if 100 people participate in the virtual portion of our convention
17,000.
Yeah, it's
for
17.
the 175,
For the
but,
100 people, 17,000.
but part of that 17 also pays for our in-person, so.
Yeah.
But actually, when you think of it, where we're right now, the 100 pays for our in-person. This, because that's all we've been running so far.
But our in-person is about a $45,000 expense.
We've been running a shortfall for a while and
Oh,
just
geez.
barely
Well,
scraping
yeah,
by.
so-
So,
Well, okay, keep that in the
yeah,
back. of your
these numbers have been, that's why we had talked about some other options in the past for like free sites and things like that, to try to cut those costs, but
Back to the
I'd like to see it set at 125 for everything. Get rid of that 175.
I don't think so.
No.
Robbie,
No?
look at it this
Well,
way.
it's all right.
If I paid my additional $100, my original $100, and the way we have to present it would be for additional $75, now not only do you have student leadership that you can show anytime, that could also be used as sub-plans that does come with copies and everything else that you could just have ready, let alone checks behind it that you could access at any point. As an educator, that limited time and everything else for $75 to have checks available, and have that opportunity, let alone in your content.
That's right.
And then also, you could say sub-plans, let alone the leadership possibilities for your class, which what educator wouldn't want that to show their principal saying, hey, this is what I'm doing in the classroom.
For how many sketches you have
Yeah.
available to you, that's
Yeah.
right there.
Just-
That's the incentive.
Yeah,
Well, and if we advertise that
Yeah.
Perkins funding will cover the cost of it, like heavily, I think, I mean, unless a district
District should invest that money.
has no funding or no funding mechanisms for their CTE programs, they should be able to cover that cost.
And Pete had a great idea yesterday too. He said, when I go to the convention, that I'm going for me. I'm not bringing students because this is my thing, right? And so the student leadership conference is something you can do with your students at any time in your classroom as an after-school activity, however you want to do it. So you're still getting that component in, but you get to decide how to make that work for you. And then also think about that. Many of you, I've been to convention after convention. You guys are busy. You're doing your thing. You've got all that going on. The online virtual convention allows you to connect with those speakers and get sketches where you couldn't do that if you're working at the convention. So it's another option.
Are you gonna make up brochures or anything like that, send out to school districts?
So part of the marketing plan is that Dave and I will be working very well together and making sure that there is a marketing plan so that 2 days before the online conference, we're not sending out a flyer. That's going to happen way in advance. And Dave's going to be able to work his magic to make sure all the marketing happens. Most of it's going to be through email, social media. Yeah, sure, we can send stuff to schools for sure. But just having the plan is going to ensure that it actually gets done in time so that people can access this. Because that's been a little bit of an issue, waiting till the last minute to market, which is.
What I'd like is, like teachers up in the UP.
Yeah.
I want them to know about this,
Absolutely.
what we're doing.
Quite frankly.
How do we get the word out to them?
Yeah, quite frankly, the Student Leadership Conference, whether you guys say yes to this or not, I'm gonna do it anyway. And I'm gonna start to, go out and sell it to the educators that are nowhere near connected with what you guys do, but that's gonna be a huge value added piece just in education.
Well, for that, I mean, I think we need to market it not just to Michigan, but in any district we can get
Exactly.
a hold of.
Exactly. And then you can also work with your vendors and say, hey, vendors, we got this really cool student leadership conference. If you're working with other schools anywhere and they mention that they need that piece, send them our way because we've already got it built. So now another money maker opportunity.
Well, we could talk to MIAT about what skills do they want to see developed in our students,
Absolutely.
like post-high school. Yeah.
We need to consider for the student leadership cost. Now that is really a member students, and if we sell it beyond the member students, then there should be an additional charge.
Correct.
And if they're selling it to school districts nationwide, there's a school district price.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's why, we would have to have another meeting where we kind of talk about pricing of that particular thing.
And then this pricing is basically individual members' pricing.
Yes. So if you bought the 175, you would have it included. There's no extra cost for you. But if you just wanted to buy, let's say you buy the 125 membership and you don't want the virtual conference and you're like, oh, I'll take the student leadership, which think about that pricing. It's 225, why wouldn't you do the 175? Even if you're not going to use it, why wouldn't you just do that, right?
And really, within, I think I asked this question yesterday, when do we see the results of whether this is working? Realistically, the first year is the trial, the second year is the proof. Am I accurate there?
Well, first time we offer it is the trial. The second time in that same year
For the
is
student leadership.
for the student leader, or for
or
both,
the
for both,
virtual.
virtual.
You
is
did it the
first.
first time
So
already.
really, a year
Yeah.
from now,
Yeah.
we're sitting here, we can go, yeah, here's the results.
Yes.
Let's
A
go
year from now,
forward.
you're going to have metrics to prove all of this. And that's really what you want too, because when we were talking about, you're getting this funding from the legislature, we need to be able to write a really good report to show them based on the numbers, what you're giving, or what they're receiving for their return on investment, right? This system will kind of automatically populate numbers for us, so we don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about how many people came to the conference, how many sketches were involved. We don't have to think about those metrics, it's all tracked for us.
And we probably will have to have a report because
No, you
they,
will have
they
to.
will.
they will treat it like a CT
You
program,
will.
you're gonna get audited.
Yeah, we
Exactly.
have to turn
We
in
better
a
have
report.
proof.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you'll have tons of proof, and they'll be happy, and when legislators are happy, guess what happens? They give you more money.
Right.
We know that's not a guarantee, but I can guarantee you this, that if you give them really good numbers, they're gonna be happy, and if they have money to give, they're gonna give it.
Which ISD approved the rolling sketches based on, like you were saying, the pause, to be able to step away and then come back?
So we would do it by event. So for example, with a virtual conference, let's say it's going from, day 1 to day 7, you can access any of those videos. In this system that I'm proposing, it keeps track of your progress, so I can tell how many videos you've watched, so that's a check. But then at the end of the week, you have to submit homework based on what you saw. And then you can receive those sketches.
So the sketches weren't a part of the virtual conference this year?
They were.
They were?
Yeah.
Okay. Which, yeah, like I said, which ISD group, working through that approval process?
I think we
Yeah,
went through the
Yasmin is
state.
our contact,
Go
but,
through ISDs and then they.
right, that's how I usually do it. Does she go through an ISD or does she?
I thought she went directly through the state.
She might have just gone right to the state of Michigan.
The state, you're doing it through the state, the code.org doing the same thing.
Yep.
Exactly what you talked about, you gotta be there every day,
Yep.
sign in as an attendant.
Yep.
You gotta do homework stuff, and you
Yep.
gotta do a report at the end, and, yeah, you get your schedule.
Exactly.
It's all virtual.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's coming from the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We've
it's,
done events before, hosted at the campus in person.
Correct.
Approved through
Yes.
a local regional ISD.
That's usually
with
how
a
I do
certain
it.
Timeline that then
Yep.
goes to the MDE and then they make
Right.
a approval or what have you, so.
Yeah.
Gotcha, but then I think the one advantage that I see for educators here is think about when you step away for like lunch when it's in person.
Right.
You know, that doesn't count, or,
oh, yeah,
or
right.
these breaks to go stretch your legs and go use the
Exactly.
restroom, oh, by the way, you're not actively engaged
Right.
at that particular point. So then you look at a whole day invested into game
Yeah.
sketches that by the time they whittle it down, so
Yeah.
I guess only got that much time.
Or God forbid, the last hour you feel unwell,
That's true.
or you have a kid that, hey, something happened at school, I need you to, life shows up,
Yeah,
and
they're
now
all
you've
not-
invested all that
If you're
time,
not
which,
able to hand in your slip at the end of the day.
exactly, I personally don't think that that's honoring and valuing humans in general. Definitely not honoring the professionals that you all are, because no other profession that I work with has to do that. So I like this model better, just because it allows you to be that human and still get what you need, kind of win-win-win. Any other thoughts or questions?
This, today's presentation, after going through all of yesterday, really assuaged a lot of my concerns.
Okay, good.
And it's, it's really clear to me at this point.
Good.
So, good job.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
You'll probably have to have a couple meetings to discuss it.
I anticipate,
Yeah.
yes.
Executive board meeting.
So that's really what I wanted to get at too, is that honestly, I'm kind of inviting me into your group as a consultant and saying, I'm gonna be sitting in meetings, I'm gonna be talking to you guys, I'm gonna be having little focus groups. There's certain things that we need to talk about, like when we talk about pricing of the student leadership, I want everybody to be involved and let's brainstorm how we might use that. And I really, when I'm creating the plan, especially the 3 and 5 year plan, I really want everybody's input, because this, to me, in my mind, the first year, honestly, and I'm just saying this from my point of view, it seems very easy because this is what I do all day long.
It's
With
really
my-
stuff we don't have time for.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm sold on this right now.
Okay.
I like the strategic plan,
Yeah.
virtual conference, the student leadership conference.
And I really like the idea that it's gonna grow with you guys, so we're gonna get 1 year under our belt. We're gonna debrief and say what worked, what didn't work, what did we love, what do we wanna get rid of? But then also, what else can we provide that's gonna up-level us to the next step? So it's a plan that grows with you. Yeah.
My assumption is that we're going to make a recommendation to move forward on this. In order to spend money outside of our normal budget requires 2 readings, unless we don't follow that plan anymore. But because that's a big chunk of our total budget, we normally spend $50,000 a year, we're going to add 30 this year. I suggest that we plan a second, at least executive board meeting to act on whatever recommendation we make at this meeting today. Does that give you some guidance? We don't decide, I don't think we can decide today to spend that kind of money, but we can recommend that we move forward on this with the second reading at a special meeting or at the September meeting. Does September give you enough time to do this
No.
for January?
It doesn't, but I will tell you this, that I understand with the second reading.
Yep.
Other than the addition of the Student Leadership Conference, which is what I talked about yesterday for the first time, this is the 4th time I've presented this plan.
But But didn't have that price.
But you did a better job this
This
time.
was the best time. You explained it the best.
Thank you.
No,
Thank
to be
you.
honest,
I'm messing
yes,
with it.
was better than the last, because I think there was more information and we already did a virtual. We never did anything.
Yes,
And now that some of us went through it,
exactly.
this was,
This, other than the student leadership, which all of that, I put the price tag of 20,000 on it the
Right,
first
it
time I
just-
presented it, but you guys didn't have anything to attach that to. You're like, what, right?
Well, we didn't have 20,000 either.
And like
Well-
what Dennis is saying, this is something where the president has needed to put this in the budget, it needs to be a line item in the budget to see where it fits in the budget, you know, because
Well, this is PD.
I totally understand that, but still, I haven't had to do a budget, Dennis has had to do a yearly budget. This is a big chunk of what that would be. And, I mean,
The fact that we're good with cash right now is irrelevant.
Yeah, but
We have a responsibility to wisely spend our
I know
money.
we gotta spend the money at a certain time, right? That the state gave us. I totally understand that.
and we have the money already dog-eared for
A
this.
portion of it, for a portion of it.
Yeah, a portion of it.
Portion.
I think we have 18,000 of it dog-eared for it,
17.
Josh?
17.
17?
yeah.
So we have a large chunk of it.
Just over half.
And then we've got the grant approved again for the next year. We can pay the rest of it out of that.
I know all about budgets.
Burden
When I was president, we had to really cut things out because we had to get us back in the black.
Right, like the money, but what we're spending, the money this is getting spent on, we wouldn't be doing it if the state wouldn't have gave us that money.
That's true.
And we have to use that money.
No,
This
I
meets the
understand that.
criteria, but the state gave us that money.
Well, and that's why I asked what the timeframe was
Yeah.
that the state gave us, and it was
So I think-
October.
I think,
September, I think.
but the only other problem is,
I would have to say, Chuck, are you there? You hear all this?
He bailed out.
It was up there.
Can
Sunshine's
somebody
still
tell
here.
me when this board last approved the budget?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
No, I think this is a good idea. As far as everything goes, I've been listening the whole time, but,
Oh, wait, Chuck, hold on one sec. Hold on, can you,
So literally, we can't spend any money.
no, wait, we gotta, Chuck, one more time, please.
all right, so this is a great idea. We actually have the $18,000 earmarked for it. I think Dennis is kind of is on the right line. I think this is technically the first reading of it. We have to go at least one more reading of it. So I don't know if an executive board meeting would cover the criteria of a second reading and voting on it. But I think it was Marvin that was talking in the back to cover that concern. Yeah, it's a big expenditure, but we also have to have, if I recall, the criteria of the grant that we got from last year is we have to have the money spent within a year. So it's kind of one of those things. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah, it's something we really need to concern and take a lot of thought into. But it's something that if we don't move forward on it, we might not be able to do it again. And plus, the nice part I like about this is whether it's 20,000 or 30,000, it's something that we can hold on to for a long time and keep on using over and over again. It's something that we are using to not use as a one-time thing, but use as something that we're going to keep on using over and over again. So we can't vote on it today, whether we want to go through with it. But like Dennis said, we should definitely vote to proceed forward with this idea in this moment.
Absolutely.
and
That sounds
I
good.
think this is the best explanation we've had. I know she says she's done it, but this is actually the best.
I usually need
Right
four
now.
readings.
And I think if we write it out and then send it out to the members, what we're doing.
You know what? We need to have a second reading. I know it's not typical for us, but could we hold an August meeting? Because we have to spend this money by what, September 1?
Well, that's
Josh?
up to Chuck.
September
Yeah,
30.
Special meeting.
I'm sorry,
September 30.
September 30. If we hold an August meeting, we'll do it virtually to have the second reading and board approval, budget, all that stuff. Does that sound like a plan with you, Chuck? I'll
Yeah,
set
that's something we
everything
can
up
do.
for it. Okay. I'll-
The only question I have is, so if because we don't have the full 30,000 right now, is it all right with you if we pay you the 17 that we have now? And then once we get the second grant, pay you the dividend of it?
I think that's something we'll have to talk about at the next reading. You can't make that decision now,
Okay.
because if you guys decide not to do this, then that's a moot point.
Mid-August, give you enough time to deal with January?
It'll be a push. I can probably make it happen.
Can we verbally,
We're 3 weeks, so.
can we verbally make an agreement with you that we are tentative, are likely to move forward with it, if that makes you more comfortable?
Somebody needs to make a proposal so that we can vote to move forward with this, which will also act as our verbal agreement.
I'm sorry, I had a proposal, right? All right, I propose that we hold a special membership meeting in August for the second reading of this, so we can move forward, so that we have time to get this going by January.
Second?
All those in favor?
Should we discuss it?
Discussion.
Discussion?
No, when do
No
we-
reason in the world you can't do it the first week of August.
Right.
You know, I mean, we're talking a virtual meeting. If you focus the virtual meeting
That's
on
it, that's
a
all. the meeting's
limited
gonna be
number of
about.
subjects like approval of this expenditure, and I'd also include your budget, so your budget's done for the year, and nothing else
Yep.
during the official, then you got a half-hour meeting and off you go.
Yes, that's what it needs to be, the next.
Yeah, let's not
I
procrastinate.
would ask that it be an in-person meeting so we can look each other in the eye. We're talking the largest expenditure in Mike's history by far.
I will tell you this, that's not a possibility for me, because August is very jam-packed with teacher schedules for me. That is my biggest month. To be in person somewhere, you're literally gonna have to come to my home. That is the
Michelle,
only thing.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. You don't have to be here for a board meeting. This is the Mike's board.
Yeah.
We're making the decisions.
We just want, everything just needs to be written out so that we know
Procedure
what
needs
the
to be followed.
expenses are, what it's going towards, what the benefits are, sketches being offered, Mike's membership being changed so that it helps offset some of the costs when we no longer are getting 50,000 from the state, if that's the case,
Yeah, the cash
you know what I'm
check.
saying? And just spell it out. And that way, every member knows exactly what they're getting for their buck. And like Pete was saying, this is an excellent presentation, more thorough than ever before. And so a person has a better understanding of it. Because when you see that 20 to 30, you know.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Significant
a major-
investment.
Like Rick,
Yeah.
it's one of the largest portions of the whole thing. Because I mean, when you talk about how much it is for the convention center, this is more than that even.
Yeah, as it should be, because your
Sure.
convention is a once
No,
and
and I-
done, yeah.
I'm not against this at all. You know, I like the idea. I like the idea that we keep adding to it to where it's more personalized towards our members so that we can add the drafting, the medals, the
Exactly.
woods and all that. So that we can pull in the people from all over the nation.
Exactly, yeah.
But again, it's one where, yeah, we've got the money, let's spend it. No, we need to, you know, yes, have a more reasonable look at it. So nothing against anything you presented.
I get it.
It's a great idea and everything. We just need to do it in the proper manner in which everybody feels comfortable with the final decision.
I think we need to pick a day when we're gonna do this. And we need a contract of what you're gonna do. So we all have it in front of us and we know what's gonna happen. We're prepared and we're ready to go. So we'll have to have a contract before the board meeting.
With the projected annual cost, can you break down
Line
what that
items.
is?
right now, or?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, put the line items.
Yeah, just, you know, I do much better when I can sit there and analyze it in writing. And we all remember our investment in, you know, the scanners and the system that we bought, that this is gonna make everything so much easier, and it's a one-time cost of, you know, $8,000 to set up this thing for our project check-in, except then next year it was more money, and the next year it was more money, and it was like, okay, we need to keep track of our long-term expenses, and if it doesn't track with what our projections are, we make a conscious decision to continue it or to drop it totally, or modify it. And we have to hold our own feet to the fire. We were promised stuff and it didn't occur. Now, I believe with our 20-year history, this is going to occur. And we've already got one virtual program under our belts that was a positive. Room to grow, wonderful. Let's go from
And just, I mean, if we're comparing apples to apples here, the vendor that you used for that was not familiar with mites, was not, you know, in the family of mites, was not, you know, understanding of really what mites, where you were going and what you were doing. And, you know, I've been here for almost 20 years and I'm not going anywhere. And I have sat in these conversations and meetings, you guys have been with me, where I've helped with some strategic planning, and I'm just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. There's so much more that you guys could do that makes your lives easier and serves at such a higher level. So I'm invested in this totally. So if I say I'm gonna do it, guess what? It's gonna be done.
And looking back at like what Dennis said with, you know, doing when we went to the standards and stuff, personally, I feel we didn't project out, this is what it could, you know, this is what we need here. We need more of a, but what's gonna be in 5 years? It's gonna be 10 grand in 5 years. It's gonna be, so we need some kind of a projection for that. But going back, we didn't have any projection on what it's gonna be, and I don't feel as if
we had word of mouth.
Yeah, and it was too small. There wasn't enough. I mean, yeah, there's a point where you had too many people, but we didn't have enough people in that conversation with that website as of what Brighton was doing, and they didn't understand lights. And then at the same time, they should have, and maybe they did, but they should have said, hey, yeah, this is getting old. You need to update this so that it can, and that's sort of the problem we ran into, right? That system was old and it wouldn't operate. So we had to do this whole reconfig. At the same time, we should have been building and making the system keep going as it goes.
Also in the past, we lost all those records.
We've lost, yeah.
You know, and we felt that we owned everything or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's like, we didn't own, or we weren't able to get it anymore because, oh, we're done with you, you know, and that's one bad taste that we had from years past, right?
Yeah, Michelle's not gonna be doing that.
Well, no.
She's with us, yeah.
Who knows though?
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah.
can happen.
True.
Well, that's why we
Not-
go into this eyes wide open, that's why.
Well, that's why we need to have line item by line item in there, and it needs to go in the budget that way too.
But
I
speaking
mean,
to
you could
the,
have a total cost, but line items in there. For
Speaking to the-
example, you're gonna need the sketchies in there. That'd be one of them. No, that's gonna be done. Put all that inside the budget.
speaking to the past, just remember that what happened in the past, number one, is in the past.
Yep.
Number two, we didn't go with a company in the past. We went with an individual who was hosting on his servers. And when he decided to pull the plug, he just didn't transfer the stuff to us and he refused to get back with us. If you are legally contractual with a company, that's going to be different for us. And that's what Michelle's proposing, is that there's a company for contractual storage of the information for the
Your
systems.
infrastructure will be your infrastructure. You will have access to the infrastructure. You get to decide what to do with it. If the infrastructure is not working for you, second year, get rid of it, get something else. But you have access to all of your content forever.
Well, and that's all we're asking
Yeah.
for. We thought we had that before, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we totally,
Yeah.
and we totally trust you.
Yeah.
But again, we want everything spelled out that way.
But part of it also is, like, in the past, nothing against Josh or anything, you know, there wasn't somebody in the organization necessarily checking, like as a balance to what the company was saying, like there's the check they're writing, there wasn't a balance against it. Right now, we're doing that with the way we, like our website, we own it, we own everything. We house everything. I mean, we can pull all of the stuff off the Kajabi server, which probably in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to pull a copy down just in case that gets hosed. We still have all the content that we could put up somewhere else and do more stuff with it.
We had a member that was backing Brighton that said, hey, they're gonna take care of us, they're gonna do great things, so.
Yeah,
Well, Brighton did their job.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure that we,
No.
Brighton did their job, and Brighton worked with the next gentleman to transfer everything. Brighton was on the board with that.
Yeah.
They just weren't willing to go forward and do what we wanted to do anymore. So they said, okay, we're going to pass this on to the next. It's the intermediate person we dealt with. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Just to get that out there, that we lost because we didn't have, like Dave said, we didn't pull down that information because this individual said, it's yours at any time, here's the passcode to go into your backup. But when he turned off his server, that didn't mean anything anymore. That was the failure on my part mostly. Our part we didn't have that information to know that. So Brighton did their job, but again, this is looking at it from a contractual with the company, just like you buying storage for your photos as a family from Google, and you store all your photos there. The only way that's gonna go away is if Google disappears, right? And then you have the onus to keep a copy of those on a hard drive or something. That's what Dave's saying. We'll contract with this company, but then we'll always save ourselves a backup copy in the case that something was to happen.
So Dave and I just want to share this on the backing up thing. So with the virtual conference, how we had it this year, you guys didn't invest in any infrastructure. You didn't have money for that. So you hosted it in my infrastructure. So you guys came into my house and had the virtual conference. Worked out really well. And so Dave's gonna go pull all those videos off of my infrastructure, so you guys will have that. And in the future, you'll have your own house with actually 2 different systems that gather all of your stuff. So it's redundancy after redundancy after redundancy, so you'll have it forever.
So moving forward, what we need to have, number 1 is a date. Number 2 is you need to draw up a contract to present to us, no different than any other contract or quote or business that is out there, saying this is what you will do for us. We sign that contract and then that meeting, if not, we verbally agree to this contract and then we move forward, correct?
Well, something I'll call the members ahead of time that
Yes.
is sort of what your contract is telling us it's gonna be. That we know as a member that we're voting on something based on, this is what the initial cost is, this is what it's gonna be, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan, what's going on, how we're gonna develop it as an organization, using it for sketches so that you can present it, also expanding our organization into something that's multi-state, even international possibly, who knows? You never know.
Well, I think Pete and I were talking about putting, I guess, a flyer together to send to membership, one, advertising this special meeting, because I think as a board, we'd like to have as many members here as possible to weigh in.
Yes.
But then also putting that information, like an overview of it as well.
Pricing structure,
Yep.
all
And-
that.
I mean-
And like Rick's saying, we need to figure out a date. We need to get this information out to them so that everybody can make an educated vote on the subject. And not, and I don't like the idea that it's gonna be this amount, I'm voting no. We want them to be educated enough to say, hey, it's gonna pay for itself in the long run. We're gonna get something that's gonna be beneficial for years to come. And it's something that we can build on and create something for the future.
Yep.
So if I came across negative, I tried to come across positive, okay? I'm just one of those that I need to see stuff in black and white.
Sure. So Michelle, can we use this general outline we put together and what you've presented here as the basis of it? What the information to put together for membership?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything I've shared up to now, yeah.
Because I think what,
So you guys are gonna compile that information, get it into information out to the members as soon as we can.
We'll get it to the board first for approval and then get it to,
Okay.
as soon as either you or Chuck approve it,
Yep.
we'll get it out to the membership.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing next is one, getting the contract from Michelle, but then also picking the date for this special meeting.
I agree. So you would say currently we're a week away from August. You said the end of August is when we have to have it.
September
Or
30th.
September. Okay,
Yep,
so
and
September.
you get everything spent
But she
in a
needs it as soon
report.
as possible.
As soon as
Yep.
possible.
Okay.
Because there's certain things, especially with the monthly meetups, if you guys want sketches for those, that date is coming due.
Gotcha. So we'd say right now, we could give you a week to put the flyer together. Would that be long enough? Or like, what is timeline you guys are thinking in regards to putting the information in an organized manner that we can get it approved and then sent out and then timeline from there?
If it was just a flyer, we could have it, because the membership thing, we can do after that. Because that the August one, we'd have to vote on the membership fees as well. We could do
When we
that.
get Flyer, the pricing needs to be, it all needs to be one.
Call it proposed.
I think. We're not only doing it, we also have to raise our.
Is there-
Yeah, that-
But we're not.
There's a couple of things we'd have to change.
Yeah, but-
To make this happen, we'd have to raise that
Constitution changed. I don't
membership
know if
fee.
that got changed.
So
I don't think it's.
We'd
more
almost
than
have to
about a
have
week's notice.
Two different vote, well,
That's what I'm.
Two different
number one is
votes.
we have to spend
Let me look at
money
the
by
old stuff.
X amount of time, yes.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is kind of regards to you and having enough time to get stuff planned out. Well, the long term would be to make sure our information is right. That is more important for our membership and everything, more so than it is to get a virtual conference. Even if we had, say, have to scratch the initial, sketches, the initial virtual conference and everything starting out, the one that we originally planned, in place of making sure this is posed right, that would be probably the proper step, So I understand we need to get it to you in regards to an answer so that you can get working, but at the same time, we need to make sure this is proposed properly.
And right now Dennis is checking if there's a time frame in which a special meeting, if we need like a 2-week notice. or something.
Okay.
so Chuck said, let's set a date and time for the meeting right now and vote on Pete's proposal. I'm not sure what he meant by Pete's proposal.
to have a special meeting.
Special meeting.
For the, yeah, okay.
Correct.
Now, Yasmin has to reread his proposal before we vote to have that special meeting.
Let me read what the former Constitution said about meetings. It talks first, A is annual meeting. The President, with the approval of the Board of Directors, may call special meetings. And the President is required to call a special meeting upon a petition signed by 10% of the active membership. Now, to me, that means if the Board of Directors, the President can call a special meeting as long as the board approves it. We're at a board meeting.
Correct.
So it doesn't give us timeline. We can do it. I'd say, look at what's the most expedient / convenient to deal with. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But let's just say, let's reconvene a special meeting as soon as possible with the intent of discussing the budget and this proposal. So,
Hey,
so
Chuck,
what
could
did you
you-
say?
Chuck, can you send us
Yeah.
a,
After members have presented some type of written.
Chuck, can you send us a message just with that wording saying that you want us to convene a special meeting in August
With the intent of.
with the intent to, or can we
what
do it
date?
verbally?
Just hear me say it.
Okay.
You want to do it on a weekday or do you want to do it on a weekend?
Let's do it on a Saturday. Just to make it easier for,
Why isn't my stuff working? So
Schedule.
let's see. Today is the 24th In 2 weeks, we'd be looking at August 7th.
Yep.
August 7th.
Does
What
that-
time on August 7th do we want to do it?
August 7th work for people?
Early.
That's only 2 weeks away, right?
I
Yeah.
almost think the 14th.
Yep.
If you want an additional week, go with 14th. Just to
Okay.
make sure that it's all,
Consensus.
he was just concerned in regards to 2 weeks being enough time to make sure this is properly.
Do you want to get the video then
Michelle,
done as well?
send us a copy of the contract too, before the meeting.
So send it to the president today.
Yeah, it's president, send the president. Yeah. He'll distribute it.
You don't need to- Right, I'm going off you guys, the flyer guys, that's what I would say is more important than anything right now.
So Chuck, there's kind of a feeling that we should get back a week.
14th, Chuck?
If that gives enough time, I'm fine with that.
That'd be 3 weeks.
What time? Do you want to do it at 9:30? Do you want to set it for noon or?
What's wrong with you, you lazy bugger?
Yeah. How
Flyer
about
guys,
Butt out of that.
10 a.m.?
10 a.m.
Okay, 10 a.m. August 14th, we have a special meeting.
Done.
Dave, can you work on getting together a Zoom
Yep.
set up for that?
Yep, I'll get that sent out
Rick
tonight.
wants to meet in live, is that possible for us to meet live?
Well, how much, I guess, how many people want to meet in person?
I can't that day.
I think Zoom, for such a short meeting,
Zoom.
I don't want to say short meeting, but for not a normal meeting, I can see Zoom being a better option for a lot of people.
I don't know if it's gonna be a short meeting.
Not if you're doing the budget, it
I
won't be.
think it's important to conduct business as needed, but it also, don't let it go unlimited. We discussed this an awful lot in this group. The handful of other people who may show up, I mean, we can summarize what's our rationale for, taking this route in a reasonable period of time. So, plan for an hour, hour and a half, and be done.
But we're gonna put information out ahead of time.
Yeah,
So
it shouldn't take that long.
Yeah,
in my mind, but-
I think it should be no more than an hour meeting for both.
And I'd
Well,
say,
we know it's gonna
you
take-
do the best you can to keep it.
We know it's going to take more than an hour, but that's good thinking. We like to talk,
Yeah, well,
but let's move forward with that. August 14th at 10 a.m. We'll have a special meeting, set up a Zoom meeting for it. And we will go from there on voting on this proposal.
Is there anything else for me?
you got it.
August 14th.
I'll be talking to you. Or Josh.
Or both.
All right, I'll leave that there then.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle.
Chuck, did you have, Chuck, the additional dates for the remaining dates for meetings this year
For 21.
for 21?
I think you just sent them to me last night, didn't you?
Yeah, I put them down. I didn't know if you had, are you good with those dates?
They look great from my house.
Okay, great. Which I can share those. September 25th and then November 13th. Of this year. Correct, of this year of 2021, September 25th and November 13th.
And then Tanker, if you want to announce the ones for next year, you can do that too, especially since Rick is right next to you.
Yep, I shared that with them yesterday, those dates.
Are we gonna do these in person or hybrid?
Is it November 15th? 13.
These next ones, I assumed we would be Zoom as well.
September,
Spring one would be in person.
September and November Zoom.
I would assume, yeah. I didn't
Okay.
talk with Chuck, but yes, I still need to work on a location too, as we discussed yesterday in regards to a central location. If necessary, or another location, so.
It's not so central, but I could probably offer up my high school for November.
Discuss that when we move on.
No more old business probably.
Yeah.
Are we at anything
Any
new?
other discussion or old business? New business?
Move to adjourn.
The only new business I have is very short, very quick. But if anybody's interested in taking over the RAO chair, that is a position that I would be willing to help somebody move into. I have a lot on my plate, you know, as president and rules committee chair, or not rules committee chair, but rules committee, RAO chair, and then setting up all this live competition. It's a lot to take on. So if somebody wanted to work on that RAO, I feel like that's a really, really important position. And I don't think I'm doing it to the level I should be. So I'd be willing to help somebody move into that position if somebody was interested.
We don't have anything here, but I think we could recruit somebody for that. Isn't that drafting?
That's all I'm told.
Is that it, Chuck? Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you.
So, vote to adjourn.
Second. Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Well, it's supposed to be here. So I told them noon. We did a pretty good job wrapping up for noon. So 20-minute break.
Well, I'll just let you know that Kevin and I are getting together the 11th to go through the trailer to get everything ready for the convention coming up, and then to talk about finalize hopefully the rules for the upcoming, because those will be finalized by September.
Thank you, everybody online. Y'all have a good day. Are any of you staying for the brainstorming session?
I'll just take the whole thing out. Oh, God.
Greg, was that a yes from you? Yeah, okay. Then I'm gonna leave this open and you can just kind of hang out here. We won't start another message. Does that work for you? Sorry, you're muted.
I've been muted all the time.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, then you have a good one, Greg.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Greg.